Plants in the plains. Trees growing in the plain have lots of spreading branches. So especially the trees which grows in the plain area. So where hill region is less. Okay, in those places they have more spreading branches. Trees like banyan, which is called as aladamar in Kannada, peepal, which is called as which is called as aralimara in Kannada, and mango. They grow in the warmer climate of the plains. Usually these trees are actually found in the warmer climate in the plain. Many plants also grow in places that are hot and wet. So many plants, they grow in the places, especially in the plain areas, which is hot as well as wet. For example, teak, tamarind, rubber, coconut, pepper, tea, coffee, sugarcane. They grow well in this type of climate where there is heavy rainfall. So especially where there is heavy rainfall, we get to see all these plants. Coorg is one such example. Okay, it is one place with good rainfall. Some of the trees are evergreen and some are deciduous. So few of the trees are evergreen. Evergreen means they do not shed their leaves at all, whereas few are deciduous. The deciduous trees, especially of plain area, they shed their leaves in the dry season, especially in summer, to avoid water loss. So especially the deciduous trees in plain areas, they shed their leaves in the dry season to avoid water loss. Whereas earlier we had learned the deciduous trees, especially in the hill region, so they shed their leaves mainly in winter, as well as they grow their leaves in spring season. Here it is different. Then plants in marshy places. Marshy means, so especially they contain clay soil as well as water content is high. So in places that have clay soil and plenty of water, more water will be there. The water cannot drain. Even the water cannot be drained that easily. The water collects in the soil and covers it. Here water will collect in the soil and it will also cover it. Mangrove trees grow in such marshy or swampy places. You can see, so mangrove trees. Okay, mangrove trees you can have a look at here. So like usually mangrove trees are actually found in such marshy areas. Okay, mangrove trees grow in such marshy or swampy places. The roots do not get air as water covers the soil. So especially for mangrove trees, here roots do not get air because water will cover the soil. Therefore, they have roots that grow above the soil. So these roots are called breathing roots. So all the trees which are actually found in these marshy places, especially mangrove trees, okay, they have roots which grows above the soil. Okay, they are called as breathing roots. If this is the surface, the roots will come above the soil here. So they help in breathing, they are called as breathing roots. You can see the mangrove place here where the soil is being covered with water. Okay, so in these pictures you can see, so banyan tree you can see, even there are some supporting structures also, supporting roots in this, even mango tree, even coffee plant, which is very familiar to us. Aquatic plants. Aquatic means water. Plants that grow in water are called aquatic plants. There are three types of aquatic plants: floating, fixed and underwater plants. So aquatic plants means the plants that grow in water. They are called aquatic plants. So there are three categories in them: floating plants, fixed plants and underwater plants. Floating plants. Some plants like the duckweed, water lettuce and water hyacinth float freely on the top of water. So they are floating plants. Floating plants means usually they float on the surface of water. Examples are these: water lettuce, water hyacinth and duckweed. So their bodies are like a sponge and have empty spaces filled with air. Their body is somewhat like a sponge and they have empty spaces filled with air. So this makes the plants light enough to float. You can see a duckweed, water lettuce, water hyacinth they have not given. See, usually the body has got empty space which is filled with air bag like. So this will make the plant light enough to float. It will make the plant to float on the surface of water. So next is fixed plants. Plants like the water lily, lotus have roots that fix the plants to the bottom of the pond and lakes. So especially water lily and lotus, they have long roots which will fix the plant to the bottom of the pond or lake. They are called fixed plants. They are called as fixed plants. They have plate-like leaves that float on the surface of water. You can see here, plate-like broad leaves so that they can float on the surface of water. The stomata in the leaves are on the upper side. Stomata means tiny pores which helps in breathing. Tiny pores which helps in breathing in plant, through which it will exchange air as well as water. Okay, stomata is present only on the surface, not in the bottom part of this particular leaf. Only in the upper surface it is present. Then the stems are hollow and light. The stems of these plants are hollow and light. Hollow means they'll have a cavity, somewhat tube-like, and they are light. So this helps the leaf to float. So this will make the leaves to float. The stems are also flexible. Usually the stems are flexible. They bend with the flow of water and make sure that the leaves are always above water. Usually the stem is flexible. They bend with the flow of water and will always make sure that leaves are always above water. So whether the level of water rises or falls in the water body. So even if the water level goes down, even if the water level goes up, okay, but always the flexible parts of the these aquatic plants will see that the leaves are always above the water. Then underwater plants such as hydrilla and tape grass, so live completely underwater. So there are few plants, they live completely immersed in water. Hydrilla and tape grass, they are called submerged or underground plants. They are commonly called as submerged or underground plants. They have narrow thin leaves with no stomata. So they have narrow and thin leaves. They have narrow means very pointed, thin leaves with no stomata. They do not contain stomata at all. The plants breathe through their body surface. Here the plant will breathe directly through their body surface. You can see hydrilla here. The plants absorb the carbon dioxide given out by animals living in water. So these plants will absorb the carbon dioxide given by animals like fishes and all in water. The stems are flexible and have air spaces. The stem is flexible and it is having air cavities, so which will make it light. Now looking back, give an example for the following. A plant that flows freely on the top of water. So these are called floating plants. A plant whose roots are fixed to the bottom of a pond. Okay, these are actually called fixed plants. A plant with no stomata. So these are underwater plants. A plant that floats freely on the top of water, you can give the example of duckweed, even water hyacinth, okay, even water lettuce. Okay, so especially for a fixed plant, you can give the example of lotus. Okay, the plant with no stomata. So you can give the example of underwater plants. You can give the example of hydrilla or a tape grass. Now, insectivorous plants. Some plants grow in soil that is poor in minerals. So minerals means salts. Some plants will grow in the soil which contains very less mineral. To get the minerals, they trap and eat insects, mainly to get the mineral. So that too, it is nitrogen. We learn in higher studies. To get the minerals, they trap and eat the insects. You can see the example here, Venus flytrap, which has caught an insect here. Such plants are called insectivorous plant. The plants which will trap insects to get minerals, they are called insectivorous plants. The Venus flytrap, here it is, and pitcher plant, this is pitcher plant, are examples of insectivorous plant. Venus flytrap, it will close its leaves so that the insects will be trapped. Whereas pitcher plant, it has got a cavity here. As soon the insect goes inside, the lid will be closed so that it will trap the insects to get minerals. The Venus flytrap has leaves that are folded in half. When an insect sits on the leaf, the two halves of the leaves close shut. The trapped insect is then digested. Venus flytrap, it has got leaves that are folded in half. When the insect sits on the leaf, the two halves of the leaves close shut. The trapped insect is then digested. Okay, that's what I mentioned at that time. The pitcher plant has leaves that look like containers with lids. So there is a liquid inside the container. Insects that fall into the container are trapped and digested. You can see here Venus flytrap. Half open leaves it will have. As soon the insect goes inside, this will be closed. So in the case of pitcher plant, here there will be liquid at the bottom from inside. As soon the insect gets inside, the lid will be closed and that particular fluid will digest the insect. Fungi. Activity. Sprinkle a little water on a slice of bread. Keep the slice aside for a few days. You can observe something growing on the slice of bread. Use a magnifying lens to see what it is. So if you take a bread and bread slice, and if you sprinkle little water to it, and when you observe it after a few days, you can see like this, a growth growing on it. You can use a magnifying lens so to see what it is. Actually, it is nothing but a mold, or it is one variety of fungi. So in higher classes you will learn it is called rhizopus. So one particular fungi that grows on the bread, it is also called bread mold. So under fungi you are going to study mushrooms also. The thing that grows on the slice of a bread is called mold. So this is what you can see, some bluish color structures. Mold is a living thing that does not have chlorophyll and cannot make its own food. So mold, which comes under fungi, it doesn't contain chlorophyll pigment, so it is not green in color. As it doesn't contain chlorophyll pigment, it cannot prepare its own food. It gets its food from the substance on which it grows. Usually it gets the food on the substance on which it grows. In the activity, mold obtains its food from the slice of bread. So in this activity, this mold will obtain food from this slice of bread. Molds are examples of fungi. Okay, mold is an example for fungi. Mushrooms are also fungi. Even mushrooms also comes under fungi. Fungi get their food from plant or animal matter. Usually fungi will get the food mainly from decaying, okay, rottening plant or animal matter. Now, did you know fungi are neither plant or animals? Fungi are neither plants nor animals. They belong to a group of their own. Usually fungi doesn't belong to either plant or animal. It has got its own group. Some kinds of fungi are used to make food. Few type of fungi can be used by us as food. When you eat bread or cheese to drink fizzy drinks, you are also eating fungi. Do you know whenever we eat bread or cheese to drink fizzy drinks or drink fizzy drinks, so these fizzy drinks or cheese or when we eat bread, so these are all made by using fungi. So we will be also eating fungi. Let me summarize this. So all these points we have learnt. Plants and animals living in a certain place are adapted to their surroundings. So all the plants and animals which lives in a certain place, they'll have their own adaptations. Plants that grow on land are called terrestrial plants. Plants that grow in the desert are adapted to growing with very little water, even for hot climate. Plants that grow on hills are adapted to survive in cold conditions. Evergreen trees do not shed all their leaves at the same time. Deciduous trees shed their leaves at the same time and do not have leaves for some months. Plants growing in water are called aquatic plants. There are three types of aquatic plants: floating, fixed and underwater plants. Insectivorous plants such as Venus flytrap and pitcher plant eat insects. Fungi get food from plant or animal matter on which they grow.